Well, her work is based on her nutrition certification that she got through the School of Natural Nutrition here in Halifax, and she's gone on to study and continues to study continuously. And now she's working with the work of Anthony William, and he has many books, including this beautiful book that I just bought called Life-Changing Foods.
That's a beautiful book.
It's a beautiful book. And he is known as the medical medium. And it's so interesting because when he tells a story, when you hear him speak, you intuitively know that that what he's saying, it resonates with us. So Nieves is going to help us, start the journey of even greater wellness. Look how beautiful she looks, and she'll tell us some of her secrets. And so we'll begin. So I'll keep everyone muted so that you don't show up on the recording. If you want to ask a question, you can put it in the chat. For sure, if there are questions that we don't get to tonight, I know Nieves will be happy to answer them, and you can contact me or contact Nieves about them. So we'll get started, and Nieves, tell us a little bit about yourself tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Joanne, for the lovely introduction. So, as you all know, my name is Nieves Santos, and I did graduate from the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition in Halifax in 2005. I have always had passion for nutrition and cooking, and I started teaching. I am self-taught. By then, I was self-taught, and I started teaching some vegan cooking classes. It wasn't called vegan then in the year 2000. It was called vegetarian, but that's what it's called now. And but it's just out of because I knew that people needed that information. And then when I graduated, I became a teacher at the school. And then I also later, when I moved to Ottawa, I was there also at the Ottawa campus. Then I moved here to the States. Life takes you to places. And I got very sick. I got a diagnosis of a heart condition. So I found myself quite sick and I had no answers. My cardiologist was really a wonderful cardiologist, but he didn't know. He said your heart is strong, but the electrical part of your heart doesn't work. And I just couldn't figure it out. Why is it that it doesn't work? It's always worked. My body has always been wonderful. So in my search for answers, I came across the work of the medical medium, Anthony William, and immediately his information resonated. But one of the things that was amazing was that in his books, he explained why I got these heart palpitations. In fact, in my diagnosis was called atrial fibrillation, and in my webpage you'll find an article that I wrote about that. And so I immediately started following the recommendations that he pointed out, which is based on food. This is the message that I bring today. And I don't know, I can't remember because I started feeling well so fast, but I healed completely. This is 3 years ago. And I think that maybe in a year I was feeling very well. And after a year and a half, I was 100% well. But now I feel better than ever. Why is that? Well, so this is when Joanne and I got together and we decided, because we had done workshops before in the past, and we said, okay, let's do this. She came up with the name that I actually love, this name, the new paradigm of nutrition, food as medicine. We have heard for a long time food as medicine, but we don't really know what that means. But the new paradigm is definitely a very good name because this is what we need to take in account, that we really need to change the way we eat. And why do I say that? I say that because there's a lot of chronic illness out there and there's a lot of sick people, and that is telling us something. So why are people so sick? Well, people are so sick because, and this is all information that I have learned. I had to unlearn certain things from my training, but many are useful. But some I had to unlearn because there's so much out there. But with this information that is working, and by the way, there are millions and millions of people healing with this information. The medical mediums books have been for 7 years in a row the bestsellers on the nutrition field, and there's a reason. So I was talking about why are we sick? There's four main causes of disease. There's four, okay? The first one, or one of them, is radiation. We started creating radiation with the nuclear power plants and the Fukushima and the Chernobyl and all those. And this doesn't go away, as we know. That's number one. Then number two, it's a viral load. I'll tell you a little bit more about that. It's a viral explosion. And then there is toxic heavy metals, and the toxic heavy metals are everywhere, and that's another big one. And then the last one is DDT and pesticides, and which we started using pretty much after maybe the First World War, when the whole thing exploded with the chemicals and everything. So one of the things that I want to say about this is that you may think, well, but I haven't been exposed to this or that. Well, there's one thing with all these toxins, and DDT stays in our body, and still today, even though it's forbidden, it's banned in many of our countries, not in the whole world, unfortunately, but many in our countries, it is still in the water and it's still in the soil, and it hasn't gone away. It's like radiation. But the thing that I want to point out also is that these can be inherited from your bloodline. It is not genetic, it is not your genes, it's from the bloodline, it's from the sperm and the egg. It can be inherited. The heavy metal toxicity, the DDT. So, this is something to take in account. This is something that we learn. So, and I just want to end this, comment with two more things that we learned from this wonderful information. And it's one, you know how there's so many autoimmune diseases, and and we Google it, what is an autoimmune disease, and it tells us that the body is attacking itself. Well, that is absolutely false. The body does not attack itself. The body will never do that to you. The medical community came up with that because they don't know. And that was a theory, in the 50s or so, when they got together, they were all puzzled. They didn't know what happened, with the pharmaceutical industry. And they came up with that. That was just one theory. And the theory has become like law, but it's not true. The body does not attack yourself. And the other thing is that the body can heal itself. This information is not out there like in our official medicine, but it is real and it's true. The body can heal itself. I just want to stop there.
Nieves, can you tell us a couple of your success stories with working with your clients?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yes. So, for example, let me think. One that I really really like. Well, I started seeing clients last summer, and I had a client, a 76, 77-year-old woman, and she had a consultation with me because she had a pain in her hip, and she was told by her doctor that she needed to have an operation, but she wasn't really keen on it. So she spoke with me, and I said to her immediately, yes, of course I can help you. So, we looked at, what her diet and her habits and all that. And I told her that she was having a very acidic diet, and this was causing a lot of problems. And from her bones, when you have acidic diet, you need to draw the alkalinity to balance it. So I explained to her how to change that, and that our bodies are amazing and they can just heal very quickly when you give them the opportunity. And one of the things that I explained to her is that she could start drinking celery juice, which I teach everybody to do because it's a wonderful medicine. It's medicine. It's called juice, sure, but it's really medicine. And Also, she had high blood pressure. No, high cholesterol. Exactly. She had high cholesterol, and her cardiologist had told her that she needed to not eat a lot of fruits because that was not good for her. So she wasn't eating a lot of fruits, even though she was from a country that produces one of the most beautiful fruits in the world. But she trusted her doctor. So I said to her, well, I have to tell you the opposite. You need to start eating a lot of fruits because they are medicine, they are alkalizing. And that's, by the way, that's my secret. I eat a lot of fruits. That's why I look younger. That's true. This is one of the things you can do to really. Anyway, I'm digressing here. So she followed my recommendations. She decided to follow what I said to her, and she started feeling well immediately, and her hip doesn't she doesn't have pain anymore, and she is a fanatic of celery juice. This is what she says. She's a testimonial in my website, and I really love that. Now, the other case that I want to tell you is even more dramatic. This is someone who had intestinal problems for a long time. Like she was diagnosed with maybe IBS and Crohn's and all those type of things, which are difficult to solve, and suffer for many years because you do have pain. And she followed the instructions that I gave her in regards to food, because this is what I tell you exactly what you need to eat exactly, and some supplements. And she called me instead of texting me or writing me an email. She called me to tell me that after only 5 days following my recommendations, she was free of pain, and I was so happy to hear that.
Those are quick turnarounds. So I know you mentioned to me this week when we were talking about the course that, over the course of a lifetime, we eat 80,000 meals. And if we look back on those meals, how many of them even had fruits and vegetables in them, let alone were mostly fruits and vegetables. So even if we take that big figure into account and start working at improving our diets in that those two
Yeah.
simple ways.
Oh, yeah, it's very true, because when we hear eat in moderation, yeah, about those 80,000 meals, what do you eat in moderation? Do you eat in moderation some bread, some crackers, some cheese, some chocolate, Do you eat apples in moderation? Do you eat them every day? How many apples do you eat a week, a day? Bananas? And how about spinach, You see, we have to really look into that, with a magnifying glass and go, whoops, maybe I eat, a handful of berries, every other day, and but we do eat more of the other stuff, but there's the other stuff is not that healing.
Yes, because you're talking about the fruits and vegetables as being the healing foods that we
That's
eat.
right. Yes.
Can you explain about inflammation and how to address it through diet? And how does it, apply to? I know a lot of people have inflammation of their joints,
Yes.
as well as perhaps inflammation like Crohn's you were talking about.
Yeah. Well, inflammation is a sign. It is nowadays taking us. It's something like if it's a disease on its own, right? Inflammation, and therefore they create supplements for inflammation or foods that are anti-inflammatory. But that doesn't really tell you anything, because inflammation, as we all know, is a sign. It's an indication that there's something wrong. And we know very well because, for example, let's say that we fall down, right? And we hurt our knee. And then what happens? Well, there's inflammation. Why? Well, because there has been an injury. So this is what inflammation is inside our organs, inside our body. When you haven't uh, have when you haven't had any injury, but the inflammation is there, is telling you the same. It's telling you that there is an injury, there is an attack. Where is this coming from? Where is this attack? One of the four causes of diseases. It's the viral explosion that I mentioned. What is this viral explosion? Well, there are several viruses, but specifically, we're going to talk about two, three types. The first one being the Epstein-Barr virus. The Epstein-Barr virus, by now, there's more than 60 varieties, and it's mutating and is more aggressive, and it's the cause of many chronic diseases. There's also the HHV2 and V6, no, not the 2, but the 6, and there's others that are undiscovered. Many of these are not yet discovered, which is part of the information that it will be discovered in the future, but the reality is that they're here. And then there is the herpetic viruses, or the shingles, sorry, the shingle viruses. So they cause, like for example, you may have joint pain, or your back, or your neck, or frozen shoulder, that's caused by the shingles virus. But the shingles virus is not only the shingles that science knows that it gives you the rash. There's other varieties, there are more than 30 varieties of shingles. All this information we learn. And even if you don't believe it, but you follow the protocol, the way of solving this problem, then you start feeling well. So then therefore there must be some truth, because this information is not yet out there in our like, you cannot Google it. There is a lot of studies with Epstein-Barr, and they have been making connections with like cancer and some other diseases, but it is not really the information that we can get from the books. The books are packed with amazing information. So inflammation, therefore, then it is indicating that there's an invasion, and the invaders are irritating, part. And then the immune system is the response of the immune system is protection, and it's warning. So it's the inflammation. So it's our immune system protecting us.
Thank you, Nieves. So, what about people who are on autoimmune suppressing medications? Can they
um,
heal from these foods?
of course, those people, they have chronic sicknesses, and they are taking those medication because our official medicine doesn't know better. They just don't know. They have no clue why this happens, so therefore they suppress, which is mostly all our pharmaceuticals.
Mhm.
Not mostly, but that's what it's based on, suppressing symptoms. And so, as we know, it is helpful, but it's also damaging. And we already have assumed, like, okay, this is going to be the case, in most cases, but it shouldn't really be like this. It shouldn't, because once you know what the cause of your illness is, is you already have 50% of the way for healing, right? And this is really, really important. This happened to me, when I found out why I got sick, it was just like incredible. And then I knew what steps to take. So for those people who take those drugs, it's because when they go to the doctor, they don't know anything. So the only thing they know is that medication. So they actually can stop taking that medication. And I say that because there are many people who have done it. Okay, I am not qualified to tell you to stop the medication. You will go to your doctor and you will say, I want to reduce this. That's the way to go. We all know that. But it is true what I'm saying, that there are many, many people in the medical medium community who have healed from very serious illnesses. And I want to say a few. For example, Alzheimer's. There is a cure for Alzheimer's. What is the cause of Alzheimer's, you may ask me? The cause of Alzheimer's is heavy metals in the brain, which is again one of the four that I mentioned, heavy metals. And our scientists have already pointed out some, but now we have an amazing tool to remove heavy metals out of the body. And this is very powerful information. And I am a witness to that, because one of the reasons I got sick with my heart not functioning well is because I had 5 mercury fillings removed at once. and the mercury vapors went directly into my liver, which is the body's big dump, and it kept it there until there was a trigger, and the trigger was that I lived in a house that had mold, and that did it. That gave me the biggest problem. I just couldn't function. I couldn't. So how did I? And I don't have that anymore. And what did I do? Well, I did I removed them with the protocol that medical medium teaches everybody to do, and everybody should do it every day, because the heavy metals basically, literally, are just falling down from the sky. They're everywhere. Somebody asked me, but how come I get this heavy metal, copper, for a condition, a skin condition that this person suffered from? And I say, well, you have been eating produce from the conventional agriculture for many years, and all the pesticides and fungicides and etc., all the chemicals from that industry are made mostly with copper. They're based on copper. That's one. Another one is you may have lived in different places, and one of the houses had the pipes were copper, or you were exposed. Because I remember telling this to someone who had eczema, and I said, well, the cause is excess copper in your body. And she mentioned to me, oh, when I was in India, I was in this ashram, and we all drank from these copper, ate from the copper bowls, and I said, well, okay, so there's some of that metal goes into your body when you eat food. So the heavy metals are removed with the heavy metal detox smoothie. This information, you find it all in the website. But the heavy metal detox smoothie has 5 ingredients, and it's powerful wild blueberries from Canada and Maine only, and they are amazing in this part of the world. They're also in Northern Europe. Cilantro, and all those foods, you can eat them separate or put them together. I put them together in a smoothie. You put barley grass juice powder. This is very powerful. Barley grass juice powder and spirulina, not chlorella. You can read out there in places in the internet that chlorella is really good. Doesn't really work. It's spirulina. And you do some orange juice. You mix, oh, sorry, not orange. Yeah, you do orange juice for the smoothie, but what I mean to say, the fifth ingredient is dulse, which is a seaweed that we have in Nova Scotia. And it grows in the Atlantic coast, in the Northeast, and also in Ireland, in the East Coast in Ireland. So, yeah.
My husband would be happy to hear you say dulse, and putting dulse in a smoothie would make him smile. I know.
Really good food. It's wild food. And with
He's from New Brunswick. He loves dulse.
great. I know my husband
Yeah.
too.
So, Nieves, tell us what your family and what you eat every day, and what kind of things we can start doing tomorrow, or after our next grocery trip, to start, really putting some of these practices, or some of the things that you're talking about into practice. And well, where's a good place to start? So first off, what you eat every day and what we should be eating every day.
Yeah, so very good. So for years now, as I said, I changed the way I eat. So I can tell everybody here that I have never eaten so much fruit in my life. Never. So I always love vegetables, and I eat vegetables a lot, but fruit sometimes, But now that's my staple food. So in the morning, I get up, I have a glass of water with lemon juice, and then I wait 20 minutes or so, and then I have a glass of celery juice. And I just want to stop here, and no, I will remind me to speak about celery juice. Joanne, please.
I will.
Then I wait another half an hour, 20 minutes, because then you want to, that's the reason why I wait, because you want to do that to give it time to do its cleaning, its job. And then I have a smoothie. I can have the heavy metal detox smoothie that I mentioned previously, or any other smoothie with Banana, always banana, because it's very creamy, it's sweet. And I add other, like mango, or you could add apple, or you could add, I like cilantro, or you could add spinach and water. I don't use any, there's no milk or any powders. Not a good idea. Why? Well, because in the morning, the perfect food, by the way, the perfect food for our body is glucose, high quality glucose, sugar. But not, when I say sugar, you don't have to remind me that I talk about sugar and and fear of fruit.
Yeah.
Those two things.
Okay.
So then I have, then I can be like a couple hours and I'm fine, and then I can have maybe more fruit, and then if I feel like it, I can have some oatmeal, or millet porridge, which is the same, but and blueberries too. I put some blueberries, wild blueberries. I recommend people to eat wild blueberries. And then for lunch, I usually have a salad and a soup, or one or the other, or both. Um, and then in the evening, I have more vegetables. We have a lot of, in this house, we eat a lot of potatoes, sweet potatoes, almost every day. That's really good food too, very healing. Um, cauliflower, I was going to say cabbage. Yeah, cabbage too. I eat all vegetables, but cauliflower, maybe another salad. And then I may eat, many days I don't eat meat because I don't feel like it, but other days I do, and I like to eat maybe some turkey or some salmon. And yeah, that's mostly the meat I eat when I eat meat. Okay, and that's mostly what we eat.
So do you add any beans or legumes to your?
Sometimes I do like chickpeas a lot, and I add, I eat, like, I love curry, for example, with the chickpeas. Sometimes beans. I prefer the chickpeas. It's my preferred. But I don't eat every day. I don't eat meat every day or beans every day, because you can just eat, the foods that I mentioned, the vegetables. I eat asparagus very often. Like when I go to the supermarket, you see my cart, I always buy the same things: potatoes, asparagus, cabbage, spinach, lettuce, tomatoes, or cherry tomatoes right now because they're not tomatoes, onions, garlic, leeks, what else? Kale, lots of fruits, all the fruits that you can find out there. Melons are amazing. Melons, I blend them, I put them in the blender, and then you drink them. You can also just eat them. And therefore, more people are also eating that same food, because that's the only food I buy.
The prevailing wisdom is to eat protein with every meal to keep your metabolism going, and what you're talking about is a whole different paradigm. And for somebody like me who doesn't love fruits and vegetables, that can sound really daunting. But if I was going to approach when I approach this, I think I'll take it. I already have a smoothie in my day, almost every day. So I'll start adding more fruits and vegetables to what I eat now, and just keep working with the proportions. Is that
Yeah,
a good way to do it?
yeah, that's what I recommend to people. What you do is you substitute the other foods, the food that are not healing. What are non-healing foods? Well, meat and fish and bread and cereals and beans. They're not healing. They're food. They're okay. Some better than other, but they're not healing. But when we speak about bananas, the powerful bananas are anti. If you put a piece of banana in a petri dish with some pathogens, like bacteria or viruses, those are going to die. You would see them from a microscope and they're all dying. And this is well known. This is not information new. It's well known that banana is really, really antibacterial and antiviral. And the same with a lot of foods. For example, potato. I said we eat lots of potatoes. Potato is very high in lysine. Lysine is an amino acid, the It's very abundant and it's antiviral. It kills viruses. In fact, they sell it as a supplement. You can buy it, and people usually buy it when they have cold sores, and they are told to take because it works for that, right? But every food is has those properties, but at the same time, they have the fiber, they have the phytochemicals, they have the vitamins, and they have undiscovered substances, and they are all healing. Plus, they contain living water. What is living water? Living water is the water that is contained in the food, in the fruit, in the vegetable, and it's alive. It's not like, water that you get from the tap in your house. It's a different type of water, so it's very hydrating. The cells immediately receive it with joy, all that water. So there's only good stuff, where so it's really healing in that sense. um I was gonna say, you asked me something about the oh
Right.
yeah, yeah, I know what I was gonna say. So then what you do is you just substitute those foods little by little, but be mindful. And the other thing that you mentioned, and this is new paradigm also, is part of the new paradigm of nutrition, is that we have been trained to believe that if we don't eat protein every day, we're going to fall apart into pieces. We're going
Yes, we are.
This is a belief, but it's based in non-truth. Non-truth. It's absolutely not true that if we don't eat protein every day, there's protein in banana, there's protein in every single food, there's protein in lettuce, in peppers, in tomatoes, in every single thing. Amino acids are in every food, and our body is very wise and knows how to put it together if it needs to do that. So there's this belief that protein is so good, and they make all these products, these protein powders, and
Mhm.
there's this problem that you have here or there, or you're feeling weak, oh, you need more protein. It's not really true. There's a problem with eating too much protein, specifically animal protein. Animal protein is always associated with fat. So whenever we eat animal protein, we're also eating the fat. Maybe this is not told. And the fat is hard to digest, and the fat has many problems once it is ingested. So, we need to, but this is a difficult one. I don't know, because it has been ingrained for many, many years. In fact, it was in the 1930s when this was an agreement, a secret agreement. Nobody asked us, and they all agreed to be teaching it even at the schools. This was taught that protein, 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 this is the good stuff. We need that. This is how you build muscle, which is not true. We learned that to build muscle, you need minerals and good sugars, good carbohydrates. This is how you build muscle. But like I said, this is a very difficult thing because it has been ingrained in us so much that the fear there has to be worked at. So just want to point that out about protein, okay?
Thank you, Nieves. Can you, if you, would you like to talk a little bit about the celery juice? I mean, yeah,
Yes.
and also glucose. Yeah.
Oh, yes. So we'll talk about the celery juice. Celery juice is a powerful, powerful medicine. Um, I did actually, when I started having consultations, and I mentioned it before, it was this summer. I did a live Instagram with my friend in Cynthia in Buenos Aires. She has an alternative medicine school and yoga and other things. And so she had a lot of followers. So she said, hey, let's do together. And I said, let's do this together. And we did two lives, but the first one was celery juice. So I spoke about what celery juice is and the movement. It's really a movement. The celery juice movement is amazing. A lot of people all over the world are drinking celery juice. My mother being one. I taught my mother 3 years ago, and she is still drinking it today back in Spain. And I asked her, Mom, why are you still drinking celery juice? And she said to me, because it makes me feel so good. And I say, yeah, okay. Yeah, that's, I mean, why would you stop that if it makes you feel good? So celery juice is a powerful, powerful medicine. You wouldn't think, just from a humble vegetable that we kind of hardly ate, maybe a little bit in the chicken salad or, a few sticks here and there for dipping, but, really. But now, it's people are buying it in big bunches and then you juice it. You use a juicer. Any juicer would do, and then you drink it like I shared before with you in the morning. In first thing in the morning is the best time, and the properties are amazing. For example, for people who have low hydrochloric acid, and many of us suffer from that, and the reason is because of the food industry uses a lot of preservatives and a lot of they call it food, but it's really not food, and that really destroys our internal balance. So that's one thing. But the other thing is that it really alkalizes your body, and the other thing is that it removes heavy metal. I didn't mention it before, but it does remove heavy metals. And the other thing that it does many things. Anthony William wrote a whole book about it. It's just celery juice. And it has a glossary at the end, and there's so many illnesses you wouldn't believe it. Now, the people who start drinking celery juice who have skin problems, they are the ones who start seeing immediate results really fast. And you see in Instagram and photos, and if you Google it, before and after, and you have these people who are looking terrible, maybe they're very red, they have rosacea, psoriasis, eczema. Boom, they just drink it in, I don't know, whatever, a month, two, and it's gone. So I just want to mention that last week I got a message from my friend Cynthia in Buenos Aires, and she was um, um, sending me forwarded me a message that she got from a lady who watched the live in June. This was in June last year. And the lady was saying, I am very grateful for this live that I attended. And the doctor, she calls me doctor. I thought, oh my God, I sound very authoritarian. She calls me the doctor. But anyway, it was funny. She says, this lady, doctor, she told us how to drink the celery juice. So I started doing it. So this is June. And I drank it for 6 months. And she had a terrible case of psoriasis. And you know how difficult that is. And she says that it started clearing up, and that she was very grateful. So I was very happy to that she had shared that information with me, because I thought, yes, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing with all of you
Mhm.
now. Thank you for coming, because I really, really like to share the good news that you can just learn, just taking some time of your day, a little bit, and then get some of this information. And then about the fruit. There's a lot of fruit fear out there, like the one I mentioned from this client who was told by her cardiologist not to eat any fruit because it was too high in sugar. So I mentioned before that our body works, it runs on sugar. There has been a lot of talk, and in fact you even find it out in the internet, that the brain works with is fat, is mostly fat, but that is not true. It's a myth. It has minute amounts of fat, some omega 3s in our brain, but mostly what our brain is sugar. And we cannot survive without sugar. We cannot think, we cannot move, the organs cannot function without sugar. But sugar is not the same thing as the white stuff and the industrial thing that we all know that is not good. I'm not talking about that sugar. I'm talking about the fruit sugar from the carbohydrates that are like potatoes, they're good carbohydrates, potatoes, sweet potatoes, squash, those are really, really appropriate sugar. That's why when I get up in the morning, I have fruit, because that's the food that my body absorbs, aside from all the powerful benefits. That's very useful. So there's another thing that we have been hearing around all the time, and cancer cells feed on sugar. Well,
Mhm.
there's there's many factors for cancer, as we know, but really, and industrial sugar, as I pointed out, is not good, but really that's not the case. The case is that we need sugar. In fact, think about this. When we human milk compared to an animal milk, another mammal, let's say the cow or the goat, is like 10 times sweeter, and also like 10 times sweeter, but it's very, very low in fat. That can tell you something, right? That can tell you something about humans and how we function, right? Better to have less fat but more sugar, because this is so that's why fruit is so important.
And that's why we're talking about a new paradigm. Watching a
Exactly.
baby grow on breast milk. Yeah, they grow really fast. So we have a question, Evis, about coffee and tea. Do you want to say anything about coffee and tea?
Yes, I see Carol ask that question. Yes. Well, so the coffee and tea and all the caffeinated drinks, including chocolate. Sorry, everybody. Sorry. It's really not. It's really a non-food. It's non-food. It's very yummy. We've got used to it, and it's addictive. Actually, everybody needs their coffee, to keep going and all that. But it's really not good for our body. Why? Well, because it's too stimulant. It's too hard on the adrenal glands. But not only that, we learn about coffee, and I encourage you, if you want to learn more about coffee, please Google coffee medical medium, just that, and it'll pop up in your search engine, and then you will learn something. Recently, Anthony has shared with us that the coffee industry is really, really out there to get us all addicted. This sounds like a plot or anything, but well, basically, we live in a world where you want people to be buying and buying and buying and consuming and being consumers for life. And coffee is perfect because, once you start, you never give it up until you leave this world. So that's a good one. But coffee is actually a non-food. And also, and this is the last thing I want to say about caffeinated drinks, tea, coffee, matcha, it's very, very dehydrating. All the caffeinated drinks are very dehydrating. So,
So even green tea?
yes,
Green
even
tea
green
has
tea can.
caffeine, but it's a different kind of green tea or caffeine.
Yeah, but for example, you just said green tea, and green tea is like there in many books, in many websites, in many authors mention it as a wonderful,
Yeah,
wonderful food. Well,
yeah,
it's not.
yeah.
It's as caffeine, and people who are sensitive know this because they try it and they can't really. Or no, I only have it in the morning, and then why? Well, because it's too stimulating. And by the way, if somebody wants to ask the question, I am going to answer it. What about decaf? It's the same. Decaf is the same. The calf is not good. And also if you think about how they have done the industrial process to remove the caffeine, it's even very doubtful and toxic, but it doesn't work anyway. So
So what about, and we have a question about celery, and the question is, isn't celery full of pesticides?
celery, you can have access to organic or non-organic. It is better to have celery than not to have it. The benefits outrage the problems that it may have, and it doesn't have. Yes, it has like a lot of our food and our soil is not healthy, which is a reflection of the humans on the planet actually. So, and like I said before, like the heavy metals are everywhere, even falling from the sky. They're in the water when it's raining, what we call it acid rain in the 90s, but still same thing. So yeah, there is basically what happens is that we are living in a toxic world. But if you can use this information to your advantage to recover health if you don't have it or maintain it with this new paradigm of eating. Nobody taught us this. Nobody taught us
No,
to eat
you're
like
right.
this. It's really true. And there was a lot of guessing. Like, for example, there was a lot of a balanced diet, whatever that means. Who knows what that means? We don't really know. Everybody has a different idea. But this information is powerful. This information is for all humans on earth. Everybody can benefit from this information. It doesn't matter where you come from or what your genetic makeup is or what part of the world. Just eating like this, knowing this, it's powerful.
So we have a question about celery in your smoothie, and I think I know the answer that the celery juice is preferred. I mean, you could put celery in your smoothie, but it's celery juice that you're juicing. That's what's recommended. And then we have another question about nightshades.
Okay, so the celery juice has to be pure and it won't work the same. It's celery juice has to be taken alone without mixing with any water, without putting anything in it. Okay, and um, and celery juice, and this is important, right? Celery juice has to be juiced. In fact, when I press it in my juicer, I always strain it and I remove the pulp just a little bit. Maybe there's a little bit that sometimes, comes in, but you just need the juice because that's the part. And I can compare it to, for example, let's say that you want to have a chamomile tea, which is very, very soothing, for your digestive system. So you're going to have the infusion, which the tea, which is putting the flowers in the water and then waiting for, but you don't need the flowers. It's different, right? You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't eat the flowers. You would just extract. This is the same thing with the celery juice. You extract the juice. The juice has tremendous amount of powerful nutrients undiscovered by science. Anthony calls them cluster salts. And I just want to mention that if you don't have a celery as a juicer to juice celery, you do it in your blender, and then you can use a nut meal bag or a cheesecloth to squeeze the juice out of it just with your hands, and that's also very good enough. That's very good enough. And people can can start trying that. Why not? And there's more information on the website, but that's one way of doing things. Okay, and the other question was about the nightshade. That's another very good question. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of myths, and that is based on guessing that this is bad. I did learn that at school, that the nightshade family, the potatoes, tomatoes, peppers, potatoes, eggplant, they are hard on the joints. They're not good for you because of inflammation, but that's not true. That is not true. It didn't resonate very much when I learned that information, but it was everywhere. It was in my book, and my teachers would say that. You would hear it all the time, but then I didn't really see that that was the cause. The cause of inflammation is because there's an invader. There's a problem there. But precisely those nightshades are medicine. Eggplant is powerful medicine. Tomatoes are amazing. Peppers. The book that you showed us, can you show it again, Joanne? Life Changing Foods. This is an amazing, beautiful book. I have never seen a book like this. This book has the properties of food, but not like we have always seen before, like it has high vitamin C and D and all that. No, no, no. It is about the spiritual powers of food, and it has recipes too. The spiritual powers and the emotional power of foods. So potatoes, for example, potatoes grow in the ground. They grow deep down, and they grab a lot of nutrients from the earth because they're always underneath the earth, right? That's the potato. And they also grow in groups. So they're very, very nutritious. And when you feel very lonely and isolated, or because you have, some way of thinking that other people don't have, you can have potatoes because they all grow together. So you feel more, in communion, in connection with other people. That's one explanation that, it's the spiritual part of it. And every food has that part, and it's really, really a joy to read. So the nightshades, are very, very good for you. They're very good for you. The inflammation is also caused by uh, feeding the pathogens that are inside our bodies. Now, when I mention about the viral explosion, I have to say that 98% of the population on Earth has some kind of viral um, thing going on. There's different types and there's different levels, and many people don't have any symptoms yet, and other people have minor ones. But that has to do with any of the four causes of disease, right? Maybe a person has a high load of toxins in their body. Another person has very low, so therefore it doesn't have show any symptoms. But these viruses, they actually eat, and they eat the same food we eat. I want to mention this because this is very important. They eat the same food we eat. What food? They have favorite foods. Those foods are eggs, number one. Bacteria and viruses love eating eggs. They love dairy, everything related to dairy, including butter, and they love gluten. That's why gluten gives problem to people, and there's more and more people they are avoiding gluten because they notice that if they avoid gluten, they feel better because it's feeding the critters inside of them. And they also eat corn. Now, all those are perfectly fine foods, but now they're not. Why? Well, because they are feeding the guys that are giving us trouble. The eggs is terrible because in the 1940s and 50s, when they started fiddling around in the labs with viruses, they started feeding them eggs. It's just a common practice, and they skip today to still to this day they still grow pathogens in eggs because they grow really well, and so that's one of the favorite foods. So this is one of the things that I would say to people to avoid if they have any inflammation, if they have any issue.
So, what's a good substitute for eggs?
Um, when we want to make a quiche or we want to make an omelette, a good substitution I have found is chickpea flour. You'll be surprised how good it is. It's amazing.
So, maybe there's some recipes that are out there.
Yes,
Yeah,
you can
we can Google them. Yeah.
Google vegan egg replacer or vegan, I don't know, frittata, or you'll find wonderful recipes out there. And so chickpea flour is very, very, very good. You'll be surprised how good it is. You'll be surprised.
Uh, we have a question. Someone was asking about their hiatal hernia and
Oh, yeah,
having indigestion, and I think maybe you addressed that with the celery juice. But is there
definitely.
anything more that you'd like to add?
Very good. Now, Joanne, you're getting it. That's
I'm
it.
trying.
Absolutely.
My
Absolutely.
initial reaction to celery juice is blah. So, I just have to be honest.
Yes. So
I
many
know I
people.
share this with probably many people on the screen,
Yeah.
but I'm going to try it.
Very good. I'm glad
Yeah,
you're going to try it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
worth it. Believe me,
yeah.
it's worth it. And start with a little bit. Start with a little bit,
Uh,
with like I don't know, an ounce or 2 ounces, and little by little, and then build up to 16 ounces, which is the appropriate for every day. But yeah,
And
the for the hiatal hernia, the celery juice is wonderful. And there's an irritation because of that hernia in the stomach, so that's why you person feels discomfort. So I would recommend this person to eat potatoes. Are really healing. They're very, very easy to digest, and they're very, very they alleviate the inflammation and the discomfort, right? And ginger is powerful medicine also. Bananas, they're
thank
very easy to digest, they're very nutritious, same thing. And this person can also do what we call a mono diet. This would be in our one of our workshops of the four that we
Yeah.
announced.
Yeah.
The mono diet, mono means one, so it means to eat only one thing. And this is very, very healing for when people have digestive issues. Super, super recommended and very, very healing.
And I think this might be our last question tonight. And if people have other questions, then I'm sure Nieves will address them. You can let me know or let Nieves know. But what about vitamin D and the recommendations for how much, specifically D3, but vitamin D in general?
Yeah, vitamin D is a good vitamin, but it is not as good as they are talking about out there. There's too much going on about vitamin D. Vitamin D is good, but for example, if you don't have enough vitamin D, you won't die. Nothing terrible will happen to you. Okay, but if you don't have enough zinc, things are going to get really bad, and you could even die. So zinc is a much more important supplement. But vitamin D3, it's important to be out in the sun when the weather is good. So, the spring, the summer months, to be out in the sun. And when I say that, you know how to be in the sun. You're not going to be in the sun for hours, you know. That's not reasonable. So, but it is a good thing to be in the sun because the body, the skin, which is our largest organ, makes vitamin D3. It synthesizes vitamin D3, and the liver stores the vitamin D3 made, by the skin. And it's okay to take some vitamin D3 every day, especially the winter time. But I wouldn't recommend to take more than 2,000 international units a day. This goes in contrast with what you learn out there in other books, in other authors, in internet, that you can take a lot. You can take up to, I don't know, 10,000 or 5,000. I know because I've gone through that. But the information that we're learning now and then we are applying is that it is not a good idea. The liver doesn't like, it cannot deal with it. It doesn't store it. So if you take 5,000 or 10,000, it's going to get rid of it. So that's why I mentioned that no more than 2,000 IU a day.
And so where would you recommend getting the zinc from? From zinc citrate or from eating pumpkin seeds or both? Or
Yeah, pumpkin seeds are good, and you can have some, but it's better to supplement it. And the reason is because it's for a long time, because of all of the practice of our agriculture, it's not in the soil, not even in organic soil. It's just not in the soil. So this is one supplement that I recommend to people. So it's the one I recommend is liquid zinc glycinate, but I think that any zinc would do at this point, anything that you find, because it's very much needed by the body and by many, many functions.
thank you, thank you, Nieva. So what three things can we start doing tomorrow?
Very
If we
good.
want to make a change, we have to start small, but we have to commit. So what would be good to, start with?
Well, one of the things that I mentioned already is the celery juice, of course. Celery juice. That will really change the game, the celery juice. Try the celery juice. Try it. And there's a lot of information out there. And there's a book. And then the other thing you can do is eat wild blueberries every day. Wild blueberries are powerful food. Wild blueberries have been around for 10,000 years, and they have gone through a lot of hardship. And they still, after all the hardship, after being burned, they still come back and they still give us fruit, berries, and they are so delicious. But they are one of the most powerful foods on earth. And for people who cannot get wild blueberries because they might be, in other places, um, blackberries. Blackberries, because they are the closest to the wild. We're talking about wild food here. And the other third thing that I want to mention is avoid eggs and dairy. If you're very healthy, okay, you don't need to. But if you have one health complaint, one, whatever it was, then avoid it, because it's feeding the. You can eat yourself to. You can eat a diet that kills the viruses and nourishes you, or you can eat a diet that feeds the viruses. So you can choose. I choose the other one.
So Nieves, you and I are planning to do 4 more courses like this. I believe that we're going to be doing them on Thursday afternoons, but just like this one, they will have we'll have a recording available for people that can't attend. Nieves, do you want to talk about what those 4 courses are?
Yeah, so the first one that we announced is called Clearing Your House of Toxins, Feng Shui Tips for Health and Happiness. So this is going to be a very, packed with information, lots of tips of, how things that you maybe didn't think about, but how to protect yourself from simple things that you may bring into the house, like, for example, a new piece of furniture, and EMF protection, or how about your light bulbs, and things like that. So we're going to learn a lot of information, or plants that are cleansing to the environment. I mean, most of us have plants at home, but plants are really, really helping us. They're really our helpers inside the house as a beautiful thing, but also to cleanse the air. Then the second workshop is called Strong Nervous System and Strong Intuition. So here we're going to be learning more about what happens, when we have those viruses living inside of us, and what symptoms and why they get to the nervous system, which is their main focus, that is the goal, to get there, and how we can prevent this, and the connection to the intestinal tract, for our immune system, and what is the connection for the intuition. It's all connected. Obviously, it's all connected. So there's going to be a lot of food tips, and how to reduce stress and cultivate peace and calm. And a very, very important part in this workshop is going to be talking about the adrenal glands. This is very important information on how to take care of your adrenal glands. The third one is called Strengthening Your Immune System. So in the days we are in, where there is not a lot about talking about the immune system, but there's a lot of um, you know viral stuff going out there. It's a good, but any time is good. Any time is good for what I just said, right? Which is the viral load. It's a good idea to really be clear what the immune system does, how it works, again, because all of this information has been delivered to us, coming from above. That's how I see it. And we're going to learn very interesting two organs in the body that have their own immune system. There's going to be herbs and foods and recipes. And then the last workshop is it's called A Break for Your Digestive System, Why and How to Detox. And this is a very important one because, there's a lot of books and information out there about detox, but not all of it is safe. Not all of it is safe, because it could be hard on your adrenal glands. It could be hard on you. So in the end, when you do, after you detox, you are exhausted, or that was a very hard, and then you start, gaining the weight that you lost and things like that, or you lost a lot of liquid. And anyway, there's a lot of stuff. So there's going to be this by the way, they all work, because a lot of people are doing it, they have done it, and it works. In fact, I finished 2 days ago, finishing one of the cleanses in Anthony's last book. It's called Cleanse to Heal. That is a fabulous book. But in here, I'm going to give you the information of what you can do in a gentle way, in a simple way, in more like adjusted to your own needs, whatever you need, because you may need to not to go through a full cleanse like I did, but maybe tips on depending, because we all have different situations and we all have different capabilities. But this is an opportunity of cleaning and rejuvenating the cells throughout the body to recover your health. So that's yeah, pretty much.
So I'll be sending out that information to my contact list, and Nieves will be sending out that information to hers, and we'll tell you where and when, and all of that information will come out soon. And how can people contact you, Nieves, if they want to work with you directly one-on-one?
If they want to work directly with me, they can contact me on my website. That's tripleevolution.com altogether, triple evolution. There you can contact me, but you can also no, that's a good way. There's a place there where you can, yeah, it says contact. That's easy.
Yeah.
You just go to the website and there's a contact. And I was going to mention about the workshops. We spoke that they will be day during the week, and you can take the four of them or you can take them individually. It's up to you.
Yes, that's right. And Nieves is going to Spain after the first two, so that's why we're doing them in the afternoon, so that she can join us in the evening from Spain.
Yes.
So everyone, I'm going to stop the recording now, and so that anybody who wants to ask a few questions just before we end, so that you won't show up on the video. But I want to thank, if anybody has to leave, I really want to thank you so much for attending, and it's nice to meet Nieves's friends, and I'm really happy to introduce my friends to you, Nieves. So I'll just stop the
Okay, thank
recording
you.
now.
You're still recording, Joanne.
Yeah, I'm going to stop. One of these nights is going to be light out when we meet. So welcome if you're